want me to put that on my Tudor?
Harry's wife, milking the royal family. Yes, there's certainly a prize cow that has been milked and continues to be milked by Harry's wife. At one time, the udders were particularly swollen, pendulous, and full. Maybe not so much now, but she clings to the teat, tick that she is, parasite that she operates as. But what is this talk of her milking the royal family? Well, IB Times tells us that Harry's wife's attendance at King Charles's coronation was very unlikely, according to a royal expert. Former BBC journalist and investigative reporter Tom Bower joined Dan Wooten on GB News and discussed Harry and Harry's wife's attendance at the coronation. The Duke of Sussex will attend the event, but his wife and 2 children, Archie 3 and Lilibet 1, will stay in California. The Revenge author admitted that he wasn't expecting either of them to attend. He was also surprised that Prince Harry was making a solo appearance. However, he was completely not surprised by Harry's wife's decision to skip the event. Bauer stated, "Her presence, I thought, was never likely because she doesn't want to be in Britain. She doesn't want to be part of the royal family. She's a Californian. She doesn't want to curtsy to the Queen. She never wants to curtsy to Kate or to Sophie. That was very important." He continued, "Of course, they did not guarantee her a spotlight in the front row, and she did not want to play second fiddle again, gazing out of a window. So I think, altogether for her, unless she was going to be prominent, she was not going to take the part." Although Harry's wife is allegedly not a fan of the royal family, the author of Rebel King accused her of milking the institution. She's milked the royal family for everything they can give her. She's got global recognition, which she didn't have before, he explained. Bauer acknowledged that young people and diverse communities wanted Harry's wife, but he also noted that the palace had made it clear that they didn't want Harry's wife in the ceremony. "I think that the palace quite clearly decided they did not want Harry's wife there, and they were putting conditions on her presence which they hoped she would refuse, and in that way they've kept her out," he continued. "Harry is still there after all, his 5th in line of succession, so to some extent he should be there, and he doesn't want to be excluded, but they'll freeze him. Harry's wife is such a poisonous, vile person for Britain. The one thing she realises is that the crowds who are clearly monarchists on the streets would not give her the welcome that she thinks she deserves." Prince Harry's biographer, Angela Levin, seemingly shared Bauer's sentiment about Harry's wife's alleged feelings towards the royal family. The author of Harry, A Biography of a Prince, claimed the former actress changed Prince Harry, and they hated the things he used to love. "I think the whole lot is Harry's wife. He's been brainwashed, and he's been left out to dry. And I think he's taken on everything that she feels, and not what he feels," Levin said when she appeared on GB News and spoke with Wooten. "I don't think he hates the family as much as Harry's wife hates it, and wants him to hate it. He wants to please her." Observations there from Tom Bauer and Angela Levin. Accurate observations indeed. But what of Harry's wife milking the royal family? Did she, way back in the mists of time, think to herself, "I'm going to become a royal. I'm going to marry in, and then I'll milk them for all I can"? Short answer, no. She would have had a preoccupation with being a princess because of the grandiosity of her narcissism. She will have, like many, looked at Prince William and thought, there's a dashing, handsome young man. Imagine marrying him and becoming Queen of England. However, for Harry's wife, her path was more incremental. Her narcissism always wanted to propel her upwards, so there'd be more people to be controlled, more fuel to be obtained, more character traits to acquire, and more residual benefits. Money, lots of stinking money. Recognition, access to networks, privilege, and status. And it set her on a course of action, so that she, first of all, got those things out of her father: financial support, being placed on a pedestal, being given access through him to auditions and opportunities. She then utilised Trevor Engelson, becoming more prominent, and then utilising the scene in Toronto, the people that she met there. She then utilised Corey Vitiello, leveraging off his profession as a chef, allowing her further access to certain networks. And then, as she gained a degree of money as a consequence of the paychecks from Suits, and that she was elbowing her way into the Toronto scene, her narcissism kept whispering, more, more. And thus, it took her, in terms of seeking out, as an independent, strong feminist, another man to use. This time, deciding that a Brit, an eligible, wealthy Brit, would be appropriate. And it just so happened that along came a completely naive and dim-witted ginger prince, and thus he was ensnared. Her narcissism at this point decided, we can milk him for all that he's worth. Plenty of character traits to get into. Plenty of residual benefits to feast upon. Easy to control. Use his vulnerabilities against him, give him the spicy poontang. But still, there wasn't an overarching strategy of get inside the royal family and milk it. No. As a mid-range narcissist, she operates hand-to-mouth. This is evident because of the general faux pas that she makes, that she repeatedly engages in those schoolgirl errors. But once she became married within the royal family, it was at this point that her narcissism said, let's go hell for leather and milk this position for all that it's worth. I will control those around me. I will draw fuel from the extended members of the royal family, the connections it affords me in terms of the people that I can meet. Let them all see me, the Empress of Woke, Saint Harry's wife. More importantly, it enabled her to feast upon the character traits and, of course, residual benefits. Milk the connection, milk the status, milk the way that they've treated me, milk the fact that I'm a victim of their behaviour, milk the fact that the nemesis was horrible to me, milk the fact that I didn't actually know Prince Andrew, except I did. And thus, once she was through those gilded gates, it was at that juncture that her narcissism basically took a look around, like Augustus Gloop turning up at Willy Wonka's factory, like a burglar finding himself falling down a chimney into a well-appointed house. It was a feeding frenzy. That there was so much that she could lay her sticky mitts upon in order to cater to the prime aims. But of course, like Augustus Gloop, focusing on that chocolate river so that he fell in and then got sucked up the pipe, thus missing the rest of the tour, Harry's wife similarly fucked up. In her desperation to control as many people as possible and draw all of that fuel and to get her hands on so much money that she would be so wealthy, it caused her to fight the institution rather than continue to harness it. If she had been a more savvy narcissist, she could have continued to milk it, leeching from it, without fighting with it, without having to retreat from it in order to assert control. Because for all of the way that Harry's wife portrayed it as suggesting that she was the one that made this big decision for her peace of mind, that her mental health, etc., to escape the racists and so on and so forth, She ran away from the royal family because her narcissism selected the third assertion of control, withdrawal, because she couldn't control it in any other way. She, in effect, once again showed her cowardice, was defeated. In her world, she doesn't see it that way because the narcissism won't let that happen. But viewed externally, we can see that is what did occur. And so she could still be there. She could still be milking it. She could still be there using the title, meeting all of these people, not having to do too much, being warmly thought of, subtly making changes in accordance with her progressive or so-called progressive mind. She could have ensured that having the favour of the king would result in more status, more money, the opportunity to live in a larger place, rather than rail against it at such an early juncture as she did. But in her haste to milk the royal family, her narcissism did so without due regard for the repercussions and the collateral consequences. And therefore, now, that teat has become rather depleted for her, and will add to her continuing woes, as I've explained in parts passim. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.